Welcome back, everybody. Or yeah, just mogs right away.
Just mog on everybody right away.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back with another episode. We're in a feisty mood today.
Yeah, we're happy to be back. So we're just gonna kind of shoot the shit a little bit. Me and Stoffer started to talk before we pressed record. So we'll just kind of continue that conversation. And Stoff was talking about how he's noticed that you're making more gains now that you're training chest less often than when you were training it, and you're not even training it like one chest day a week. Now you're just doing one movement a week, essentially, right?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the actual science backing is to this, but this is just what I'm noticing anecdotally. And of course, this does come from the person who looks at themselves in the mirror every day. So it's very likely that I already was, achieving this level. I just didn't see it in myself until I slow down with everything. But for those who don't know, who need the fill in, I have a broken hand, and if you're watching the video, the cast goes well down my forearm, so I'm very limited in the amount of movements that I can do. I do a lot of unilateral movement now, but that can, that's just to delay muscle deterioration. You're not actually building anything when you're doing unilateral movement, because then you're going to become, lopsided. So because of that, only do, a couple upper body movements. I make sure to hit, my chest, my back, a bi, and a tri. And then a little bit of shoulders when I do my ab workout. Just to, keep everything fresh. You're not actually building muscle. You're just keeping what muscle you have there. And what unilateral movement does, and I've talked about in the past, is that if you train one side and still put it under strenuous tension, not, progressive overloading it, but still strenuous tension with weights, the neural pathways on the other side. So, for example, if I train shoulders and I'm doing a shoulder press and I only shoulder press with my right side, the neural pathways on my left side will still be opened, activated, and information will be passed throughout them. So it doesn't build muscle, but it prevents the muscles I have from this side from deteriorating, which we normally see at about the 3-week stage if you cold turkeyed the gym. So this kind of helps prevent that. And also when I do get out of this cast this week, it will allow me to more seamlessly transition back into the full workout regime.
I was just about to ask when you get that off.
Yeah, so on Wednesday I go in for my hopefully my last appointment, but we're going to do all my x-rays again. My doc already told me that we're going to be going into a splint, so then the splint will be on for another 2 weeks or so, but I'm able to take off the splint when I want to. It's not like this where, my hand's isolated for the entirety of 2 weeks. So that's on Wednesday, and I've got high aspirations because I've got a lot coming up in the month of April and early May that I need to be able to do, and this cast makes it impossible to do that. So I'm hoping that I get it off. But more or less what I was talking to Paul prior to recording is that this past week I trained chest, and when I say I trained chest, it means I did one chest movement. I did cable flies, which, I'm able to hook into the cast. So I did cable flies from the high position for 3 sets and cable flies from the middle position for 3 sets, just so I could, get a little bit of, movement within my chest muscles. But I am able to do both sides on that. It's not unilateral. And I just, I took my physique pics this morning, that I do every week, for my updates. And also when I took my shirt off when I was back in the changing room afterwards, I just noticed that I had a divide in between my pectorals. And for me, my chest is my most underdeveloped area of my entire physique. And so for me, that kind of took me by surprise because I hadn't seen that before. And, that's not, I've seen it before when I, pinch and roll my shoulders over and, contract my chest muscles. I see it then because you're forcing the muscles together. But just standing there, I hadn't seen it before. And it took me by surprise. And I was convinced that the training one movement a week was what was leading to this. But in hindsight, what it most likely is I probably had reached that and we're our own biggest critics, so we don't notice the minute changes in our bodies, especially in the bodybuilding or just weightlifting world in general. So I'm more so attributing it to the fact that I probably had developed it because I had been in a really good chest routine prior to breaking my hand, and maintaining a couple movements a week just helped keep it there. And I'm guessing now that I've mentally stepped back and slowed down, I'm actually seeing a couple different areas where there's been some improvement. So I'm excited for it. I'm very much want to be out of this cast so then I can actually start shredding it up again. But it was a little interesting bit that I saw.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of argument whether or not. So, like for instance, I do 2 arm days a week, and there's arguments from different sides of different studies and all of that where people say, oh, you should only do 1 training day a week because some people find better results when they only train that one muscle group once a week. So I mean, there is some science backing that if you give your a muscle group an extreme amount of time to recover, such that like a week, for instance, then you'll start seeing potentially more progress than you were seeing before. But I mean, that just entirely comes down to, I guess overall intensity when you are lifting and volume and everything, encapsulated. So it's just interesting to see that you're seeing the progress now. Something that I do on occasion, which I actually recently did, was for a week I'd lift with just t-shirts on, maybe even sweatshirts, depending on how cold it is outside. It's been warm here in North Carolina lately, so just been wearing t-shirts.
It's warm year round for you. I don't want to hear
it. yeah. It's in subjectivity. It's warm year round. So I've been wearing t-shirts. I wore t-shirts for a week, and then I wore stringers here and there. But one thing I did was I grow an immense amount of body hair, and for those that know, body hair really pulls away from your physique drastically. It hides your vascularity, it hides your muscle striations, it hides your definition. It's just something that it does. Some body hair can add to the look, but for me, I get a lot of belly body hair. I have a lot of chest, and I get, pretty dark hair on my back and shit now too. A lot of it's kind of attributed to anabolics, but it's a bitch to maintain. So I grew that shit out for like legit 2 weeks. And then Friday or Thursday evening, prior to my arm day on Friday, I buzzed it all off. Legs, chest, back, everything, arms, buzzed it all off. And then went into the gym Friday to train arms, and I could genuinely see the difference that I'd made over the past 2 weeks. I am up in weight right now, which is like good and bad. It's like in one way I don't want to gain weight because I want to keep my abs defined, but also I am on a DHT, which is going to promote muscle growth. So I'm going to be putting on weight and a little bit of water. So it's okay. But yeah, seeing the more vascularity in my neck and my traps, shoulders, chest, arms, like all the way through it. And like now, like even like my veins in my legs and shit are starting to pop because I shaved my hair. I can see it more. It's fucking wild, man. It's weird going from like hairy as shit and then buzzing it all off and being like, wow, okay, this is what I actually look like. So I mean, that's just kind of adding to, you take a step back and you're like, okay, this is actually how I look. And it's pretty hype sometimes when you actually like are able to look and be like, wow, I'm fucking proud of this. It's not often we could say that.
Did you have a moment like that back when you cut the mane? Because you were still in the bodybuilding world at that time, so you were probably doing different types of, poses and whatnot. Did you notice any, noticeable change? Because if I ever hit the stage, I'm 100% pinning up my hair, so it's not going to be, like flowing behind me because it's my hair is long enough that it would cover up my, my upper traps and my like upper lats as well. Well, the inside, so more like my rhomboids. But I feel like it would be kind of like a change to see that posing wise, going one day from having your mane to to the buzz cut that you're wearing, or not true buzz cut but the short hair that you have right now.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, I had very, very long hair a few years back. I think it was going into 2020 was my longest because I buzzed it for a job right at the start of COVID. So
we used to be Stallion Brothers, and then you decided to abandon me.
yeah, you were like just kind of starting out with your hair back then, I think, right?
I don't even think we were talked about hair back then.
We weren't really that close back then, anyways. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was really long, and I have very curly hair, so it would go down a little past my shoulders at the time. But if I were to wet it, it was about middle of my back, roughly, give or take about how long Stoff's is. If you guys are looking at the video right now, give or take about that long, maybe a little bit longer when it was wet. But curly, it looks shorter than his does now when it was dry. But yeah, so for me, I mean, I didn't really notice too much difference. I think hair, especially my hair being as curly as it was and as thick as it was, it kind of makes the rest of you look smaller because my mane was so big. So that kind of pulled away from it in that sense. And then it potentially covered up my traps a little bit.
So you're saying I'm Olympia ready if I cut my hair?
Yeah, essentially, you'll be ready for the O if you just trim it up.
Ronnie Coleman, who?
Yeah, that's why they're all bald. That's why most guys are bald on the O, is because it makes them look smaller, bigger.
Take away the anabolic side of things, and I bet you that's actually like a real thing.
There's probably some sort of psychological thing there.
Not even psychological. I feel like it's like actually for the physique. I bet, because I know it's not judged whatsoever, but you can 100% see someone straining in a neck vein, or like a temple vein or something like that. And while that's not judged, that displays like the person's character of being able to push through that particular, strain level to produce the different pose or movement that they're doing. So I feel like there might actually be something behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Hair anywhere outside your head definitely pulls away from your overall physique. That's why guys use Nair and shit like that prior to a show, because you want everything fucking gone.
Yeah.
But as far as like how your head hair, your beard goes, I can see definitely trimming down the beard, because that'll kind of, like, even though it's not covering anything that they're judging, it'll kind of pull away from it.
Yeah. Well, it's like when Sebum goes off season, he's a woolly mammoth, and then on stage he just keeps the mustache.
Yeah, but the mustache is iconic now. He kind of has to do the stash.
Someone is coming for the mustache.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll be on. You're coming for that classic Sebum. You're like, Stoff or Sebum, which do you prefer? Which mustache is superior?
Well, not even me. Like, you see all the there's the Indian Sebum. There's all these dudes who are just replicating the look where it's the curled mullet kind of look with the mustache.
They're just trying too hard. And like, just because you can you're fine in your case, but like some guys just don't look good with a mustache. And just because like Sebum looks good with a mustache doesn't mean every single guy is going to look good with a mustache.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see the guys that like grow a mustache, and I'm like, oh, okay, nope. Sorry, bro, you just can't pull it off. Not for you. I want to leave a mustache, but my wife's not allowing it. She hates it, so.
That's been a topic of conversation for close to a year now. We've
had. Yeah. I told her though. I said, first show, I'm doing mustache. I was like, I'm gonna shave it all off except for a mustache for my first show.
Very nice.
But yeah, so as far as like your head hair, I don't know. I mean, a lot of bodybuilders have a good head of hair. I mean, Kai had his fucking whatever that thing was.
That's like a like almost like a tied dreadlock look.
It's like a super, super long ponytail dread, but like just the ponytail, nothing else. Like it's I don't even know what to call it. But yeah, so he has that. But it's funny just because most really, really successful bodybuilders, especially at the O, have been bald. Phil Heath and Ronnie Coleman, those combined, and then I think was Lee Haney bald? I can't remember. I know he had some curls back in the day, but I think was bald he's bald now, but I think he was bald also for the most part. Arnold was never bald or anything like that.
You want to know who never was bald and kept that luscious locks of hair?
Who?
Mike O'Hearn.
Oh, Mike O'Hearn. Natty Daddy, the lifetime natty. Mike O'Tren.
You want to
Yeah.
give the
So,
fans that update?
yep. So yesterday at a gym near me, gym I actually used to go to, Elite
Keep in mind that
Fitness.
Paul texted me about this, and I told him the podcast was over if he didn't go.
Yeah. So Elite Fitness, is like this little underground gym up in Huntersville, North Carolina, which is just outside the northern border of Charlotte, right where I live. I live right on the northern border, of Charlotte and Huntersville. So, I used to go there. I go to a different gym now, but, I was going there for about a year. Every year or so I change up gyms. It's not like Elite's a bad gym. I just change up. I need change in my routine. So every year or so I change gyms, but, I went to Elite for about a year, and recently Mike O'Hearn was in town recording for some show or movie or something. It looked like something involving wrestling, like WWE or some shit like that. I'm not sure, but, he was training at Elite, and he had a, meet and greet at Elite, from 12 to 2 on Saturday the 1st. So, I'm not really someone who follows Michael Hearn a lot. I kind of know who he is. I kind of know where he's been, in the past, but, all that I know is that he's like the biggest fake natural of all time. Um, but I texted
Hey,
Stoff and I was like,
he's Mr. Natty. You leave him alone.
yeah, the lifetime natty. So I texted Stoff
Listen,
and I was like, should I go? I was like, I don't even know if I want to go. And you're like, friendship over if you don't go. And I'm like, shit, now I gotta go.
well, it's just because he has properly manipulated social media because it I don't know about you, but over the past week, my For You page on either Instagram or TikTok is now just stoic men with ridiculous quotes. And it's the baby don't hurt me in the
Yeah,
background. Like,
yeah.
it's just such a funny meme. And because if you look at him and in one of those poses, he looks like such a jackass.
Like
And
like he looks like he's stuck in the 80s. Like it's just the way he looks,
yeah,
his hairstyle and shit looks like he's stuck in the 80s. Um,
me
and he
saying hi
does.
me saying hi to my gym crush, and then in parentheses, I'm in my wheelchair and I'm schizophrenic.
Yeah, those are so good. It's like, sir, you're under arrest for money laundering, and he's like, no thanks, have a nice day or something.
Yeah.
And it's showing Michael Hearn posing for a photo shoot. But yeah, no, I mean, props to him for the way he looks. Like he looks phenomenal. It's just he's become a meme just because he's a fake natty. He just says that he's natural, and it's like, dude, it's not a problem that you're. I mean, he's in too deep now. He can't go back. There's no way he can ever say he's not natural because then it's just going to destroy him. Just like Liver King, like it destroyed Liver King. Nobody
I
talks
think
about him. What's that?
I think well, I was gonna say I think the one thing that he has going for him is definitely the longevity, and that's tough to,
Yes.
produce when you're under intense cycles. So I think what his case is more likely is that he's saying he's natural in comparison to the rest of the crowd, which is not true natural, but I'm guessing that's his justification for it because he, for him, he's what, 40, like
I think he's
42,
50 something.
43. Yeah, he's up there. Like, this is like rock style stuff. And for
Yeah.
him to have that longevity, he's clearly not blasting huge cycles like, Ronnie J, like the behemoths were doing. Um,
He's
but
54.
54, yeah, 54 to have that
Yeah.
physique. He's definitely on something. Just, I mean, even if it's just like a test booster to keep his his body able to be where it is. But I'm thinking he's claiming natural or at least justifying the natural because of um, the way the crowd was. And he's on interview for saying like, "Hey, if I was doing what these guys were doing back in the '90s, I'd be like they were." And just because you see like how the people like, I mean, Ronnie's case is more that he had bad medical team repairing him, but a lot of these guys who are struggling to, still be physically active after doing their huge, cycles and whatnot. I think that's more so where his justification comes from. But yeah, using the word natural definitely isn't what he should be doing. It should be like natural with three asterisks after it, saying like this is in comparison to like the big boys.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, I'm pretty sure in the past he said he's taken nothing. Um, so for
Which is
that,
I mean, not true. You look at his body.
yeah,
There's
he's
unless he's in the like what Liver King tried to claim to be in that 0.0001% of the like true primeval like descendant, those people who just have the genetic absolute masterpiece where they're able to do that, but it's such a small population.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, granted, no matter what he's taken, he definitely has phenomenal genetics to at least hold on to what he
Yeah,
has.
and that's the case with every bodybuilder that makes it to that level. Like you
Yeah.
can't make it there without having a stroke of luck.
I don't even think, I could be wrong. I don't think he ever made pro. I don't think he's ever been an IFBB pro.
He's a pro in our eyes.
Let me see if he is even a pro. But yeah, it says on his website at the very bottom, it says Natty. Literally says Natty at the bottom, which for interpretation, he for interpretation, that just means he's not taking anything. But there's been Kenny KO has called him out and asked him if he's natural or not, and he says he is, and he doesn't use steroids or anything like that. But yeah, so he seemed like a nice guy. I didn't really get to talk to him or anything like that. He was like training people and like showing this like literal like 6 or 7 year old like how to work out. Like he was like showing him how to do dips and how to do like rows on the cable machine and stuff. I think his wife was there too. So I didn't want to take up too much of his time. I was only there for a photo and to say what's up to the people that I knew there. But
Paul, you missed the segue of the century right there.
yeah, no, I know. I know. Yeah, he was training like 6, 7 year old. I mean, which is very, very young. I mean, at that point, I mean, I don't know if that kid was his kid or if that kid was somebody else's kid. It was hard to tell. I couldn't even tell what the hell was going on. But as far as when kids should start training, I mean, I would argue that that's just too young. But he might just be having fun. The kid just might be having fun.
And there's never too young an age to correct form, even if they're not going down the rabbit hole. It's never too early to correct form. Like someone doing dips, like you're even regardless of what age, you can show them how to utilize triceps, or if you want to engage chest on a dip, like how to angle yourself. Like I don't think there's too young an age to be giving form correction. I think it's more so the debate of when should you let them go down the rabbit hole, because you see the videos of like, I forget I think it's some like Russian kid who's 14 and blasting cycles already, something like that. I think that's more so what people try to avoid when they talk about that.
Yeah, I think for that age group, like anything under like, I mean, it's going to depend on the person entirely. I think anything under like definitely 10, anything under 10 for sure. Really shouldn't ever be focusing on hypertrophy. And then even then it's like for between like 10 and 14, I think a lot of it is going to come down to like understanding the human body, understanding anatomy, understanding how the human body reacts to different things, and understanding proper form. I mean, most like people in the gym, especially when it comes to hypertrophy and bodybuilding and all of that, don't really grow into their physique until like well after 18. But setting that foundation at a younger age is just going to set you up for way more success. You can build muscle, plenty of muscle, anywhere from 10, 11, 12 years old, all the way up until 18 prior to really filling out. But like you can build plenty. I mean, the youngest IFBB pro ever was, from my understanding, it might have changed, was Jeffrey Side, and he was 19 when he made pro. So there's plenty of opportunity. Yeah, Mog. Plenty of opportunities to gain muscle and hypertrophy prior to even graduating high school. So it's going to come. The biggest thing at a younger age is going to come down to learning how to train properly, learning how the muscle groups work, which is ultimately just hypertrophy 101, and then not really focusing on hypertrophy and just really understanding performance, I think is going to be a big kind of leg up there, because you're being such a young age, your body's still changing, your body's still adapting. So A lot of kids, especially when I was that young, I was holding on to a lot of baby fat and everything. And if I could go back, I'd be like telling myself just to try to do my best to lose all of that. Not necessarily gain muscle, because it is hard at that age. But if you can get to a good starting point, a good foundation to really start hypertrophy around maybe 15, 16, then you're going to set yourself up for that much more success. And if you know proper form by then, as your body is growing, as you're gaining height, as you're gaining weight, when you start to fill out in high school and start to grow into, or like finish growing as far as height goes, you'll be at a better place than if you waited until you were done growing in height. I wish I can go back and tell myself that, but I mean, obviously I can't go back in time. But the sooner you're in the gym, the better. Ultimately, I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to that age. I mean, the fact that 7-year-old or whatever it was training with Michael Hearn was fucking hilarious to me. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, the dude's fingers was bigger than his arms. Like, I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? But yeah, so
But yeah, that kind of goes into the topic we wanted to kind of hit on today, and that's just, tips and tricks for young people getting into the gym, as well as, debunking some of those myths that you hear about in regards to young people training in the gym. But I think Paul made a really good point, is that if you are under the age of, let's say, 15, 16, something like that, and you are getting into the gym or already training, the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself is learn your anatomical structure and physiological memory. Like, just learn everything there is to know about the human body, because what so many people do at a young age, and I see it already because for those who don't know, I teach, and also shout out all my students who are going to be listening to this during my lectures. The most common thing I see is that young people will see a favorite athlete or favorite actor, someone famous that they follow, and they see something with their workout regime. So, for example, the reference that I'm going to make is that movie with Mark Wahlberg and Dwayne Johnson, where he goes, I got to go get a pump. And he goes and does a couple bicep curls. A young person might see that and go, all right, I know I want to, get arms like that, so I'm going to train biceps and just like curl, maybe figure out a couple different variations and just go with that, but not actually learning what goes into not just hypertrophy, but also the muscles themselves. Because when I talk to people of the younger age and I say, do you know that you have 2 muscles within your bicep? They go, no. And one, that upsets me because I'm an English teacher, and the prefix of bi means 2, so just use that. But
tries 3.
Yeah. So for me, that's where I start. But on learning and understanding the human body will allow you to actually make better gains as you go into the future. Because, for example, if that young person knew that there were 2 muscles within your bicep and then figured out one movement per, and then was able to properly train that, your arms will fill out a lot better, instead of if you just did 100 bicep curls every day because you want to train arms. That's great, but that's not actually going to develop and fully fill out your arm. And that's also just biceps. So many people and so many young people think that if you want big arms, train biceps. But in actuality, you want big arms, you need to hit triceps more than you do biceps, because just like the prefix tells us, bicep has 2 muscles, whereas your tricep, which for anybody listening who doesn't know, it's the back end of your arm, basically like what you rest upon a chair if you were to push. Like right now, if you are watching the video, I'm pushing my arm backwards into the chair. That is where your tricep is, and there's 3 muscles, try 3. So if you want bigger arms, you need to properly train those as well. But I think that's just the big thing that needs to be addressed right away, is that if you don't spend the time to learn about your body, and we're not talking sex eds, we're talking like the actual muscle fibers, what connects to what, how to train individual parts of, like let's say your back is so much you can train, and you need to know how to hit the individual parts instead of just going to a row machine and saying, I'm going to train back. Like, you want to hit it with a purpose. And in order to train with a purpose, you need to be mindful and understanding, which is something that we achieve later in life, because once we hit this, like Paul and I, once we hit the motivation to go into the bodybuilding world, um, we learn all this stuff, and if we didn't learn it, we picked it up immediately because it's stuff we needed to learn. But if you learn it at a young age, so like I teach right now between the ages of 12 and maybe 14, but it's mostly 12 and 13-year-olds because it's seventh graders. Then if you start learning it then you will when you get to that full developmental stage, so 18, north of 18, and you're able to really start packing on the hypertrophy and start packing on some size and definition more so, you'll be in such a better place. So at the end of the day, you just need to learn about the actual human body. And I know personally, I slept through health class as a kid because I didn't think there was any importance to it. But now in my older age, yeah. Now in my, adult ages, I am taking the absolute responsibility of helping these young people I see every day to actually take that stuff seriously. Because even if you don't go into bodybuilding, it'll help you in the future. If you go in and you become an athlete, and let's say you take you swing your bat on the diamond and you're playing in a baseball game and you feel something tweak in your back, you're able to identify where that is. And that's an awesome thing. So certainly learning the body is where you need to start if you're coming in from a young age.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn. I mean, I'm still learning every single day. That's kind of the basis of this podcast is what we learn over time and different studies we read and stuff like that, and just translating it and interpreting it for everybody listening. As far as your age group goes, 12 to 13, you guys are in the perfect spot right now to really start lifting. If you research how old should I be when I start lifting, or how old can I start going to the gym and stuff like that.
I'd go around the 1 to 3 day range, somewhere around there.
Yeah, right out of the womb, just straight out.
Yeah.
Right, like cut the umbilical cord straight onto a bench. Just
well,
like
the cutting of the umbilical cord is just a lat raise. So
yeah, that's all. Yeah, God, that's awful. It's a rear delt fly to pull it apart.
Yeah,
That's what you gotta do.
Your first band that you ever worked with.
Yeah, it's just a resistance band. What the fuck? Oh, geez. First ever resistance band is your umbilical cord. That's awful.
Natty.
That's so bad. I'm 100% natural. I even use natural weightlifting. My mom's umbilical cord resistance. That's so fucking gross. That's so nasty. Jeez.
Well, when you feel kicks from like inside the womb, that's just leg pressing right there.
That's leg extensions with the resistance band. they tied the umbilical cord around and started doing leg extensions so they can be shredded coming out. They gotta look good.
I think we need to go teach pregnancy classes now.
Yeah. If the baby turns, it's because it's doing like oblique work or something.
Yeah, he needs to get his other side.
Yeah, he needs to. He's supersetting between chest and back.
No unilateral work in the womb.
Lord, that's awful. That's so bad. But yeah, no, 12, 13 is like the perfect spot to really start going to the gym. And it is nerve wracking. It is kind of intimidating a lot of the time when you start going to the gym for the first time. And it was intimidating to me, and I was going to Planet Fitness, and I was 16 when I first ever stepped into like a gym. I wouldn't say a real gym, but into a gym. It was a Planet Fitness at 16, and it is intimidating. And obviously, I can't quite remember exactly what I'd experienced back then. I don't remember how I saw people or like anything like that. But it is hard. It's hard getting in there. But once you're in there and you get comfortable, you're set, and it'll set you up for the future. And it'll only really help. The gym's only really ever going to help. You watch any sort of, even if you're just focusing on sports, football, basketball, baseball, fucking golf, whatever it is that you're playing, disc golf. You watch those athletes, they're doing some sort of weight training. Football athletes focus a lot on uh, almost like very high volume, sort of like performance based training in a sense, almost similar to CrossFit. A lot of interval training, a lot of endurance training with the weights. So that way they can keep pushing on the field because you're going to be playing a lot. Like it's not like you're going to play for 10 seconds and then you're done. It's not like you're one swing of the bat and then you're done. Like baseball, you're going to be pushing harder. And
Well, speaking of that topic of athletes and their training regimes while like still performing their other duties,
yeah,
there was a interview comparison they did between Tiger Woods, who is the greatest golfer of all time, and John
mhm.
Daly, who is one of the most entertaining golfers of all time.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and the interview was started with Tiger, and it said Tiger, he wakes up, he goes for about a 4 mile run. He'll go home, shower, then hit the range for about 2-3 hours. Then he'll go hit his lift. Then he'll go play a practice round, then back to the range, and then a workout to end the day.
yeah.
And then it switches to John Daly, and he goes, I'll normally have 6 to 12 beers, go to the range, maybe even skip the range and then tee off.
Well, let me
And
ask, like, what made him be able to compete in the PGA Tour? Like,
he's
obviously he
still
has to be good,
he's still
right?
one of the world class golfers, and his was just natural skill that he was able. I mean, don't get me wrong, he still is one of the most disciplined athletes. Like when he's on the course, he knows what he's doing, and he
Yeah,
doesn't have the accolades that Tiger has, but he's still down to the 0.00001 degree of greatest golfers that,
yeah.
because you have to be on the PGA Tour.
He fucked
And
around outside of playing.
not even. He fucked around while he played, and that's what
Yeah,
made him so entertaining. And he looked like he just rolled out of a gutter when he teed up too. Like his hair would be everywhere. He wouldn't even wear a hat sometimes. Like
yeah.
he
He was just
just,
good.
yeah. But it was just a funny comparison between the two. And
Yeah,
I will say, using that interview and what Paul just said about athletes and their lifting, you do see the physical changes. So Tiger maintained for his entire career, and even still now, a super fit physique. And
hmm,
for golfers, super fit physique is not a NFL like football players super fit physique. It's because in golf you need a lot more flexibility, but he still is super fit. Whereas the interview with John Daly, when he talks about him just drinking and hopping on, I mean he's got dad bod since day one.
yeah,
So it actually proves the point that you're talking about, Paul, how like even athletes, and if you're a young person and you're thinking I'm an athlete but it's a sport that doesn't necessarily warrant what I think needs weight training, you're wrong. You need
yeah,
you need to be in their training.
yeah. And you're not helping yourself by not training. Additionally, on top of
Yeah.
practice and stuff like that, it's only going to make it easier. Obviously, like being in Massachusetts, that's middle school. Fifth through eighth grade is middle school, correct? Even for Gardner.
uh right now 5 through 7, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, because for
But eighth grade is, yeah, for the most part 5 through 8 is going to be your grade range.
eighth is high school. What's
Here in Gardner, they made that change. Yeah,
interesting? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so when I was in middle school at Gansett, it was 5 through 8 was middle school,
yep.
and 9 through 12 is high school.
Likewise,
Which is, I mean, at least I mean, obviously middle school will range differently, but most high schools are 9 through 12 in America. For those of our UK listeners, which we do have quite a few, ninth grade is year 10. Year 10 through year 13 would be essentially what's called high school for us. So take whatever year we're talking about, add one, and that's your guys' year. So when we say seventh graders, we're talking about year 8. Eighth graders is year 9. So for those in seventh grade or year 8, usually that's around 12 to 13 years old, depending on what month you were born in comparison to the school year. I was May, so I was on the other end. I graduated just after turning 18. I graduated high school just after turning 18, but and then went into high school, I think just after turning 14. But with that being said, whatever sport you're playing in, you can obviously focus your training around that. So for golf, for instance, you don't want, this is from my understanding. I'm not a golfer. I want to golf, but I'm not a golfer.
I got you.
Yeah. So from my understanding, you don't want a wide upper body. You want a pretty slim upper body that has good strength to weight ratio, because a lot of your suing is going to be in your hip control. So it's going to be a lot of abductor, adductor movements, a lot of glute movements, even hams and quads, with a lot of core as well. Core is going to be very important when it comes to golf. Your shoulders might play a little bit of a role, but you don't want to be whacking at the ball. So a lot of the momentum and strength going into the ball is going to be coming from your hip rotation. So
A
the
lot of
training
it
that
is
they do,
a lot of it is strength flexibility, or flexibility strength, I should say, where
yeah,
your arm can be positioned while still exerting maximum force.
yeah,
And that there's that's a science lesson in itself. But being able to manipulate your body while still exerting maximum force, or very like tiered uh, exertion, is kind of how it works.
mhm,
But yeah, you're right. You don't want to be a bulkhead out there, because
yeah,
if you're a bulkhead, you restrict your range of motion when pulling the club back and whatnot.
yeah.
Like
When
one of
I
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say
Uh,
when I last played golf, I was playing with my uncle and my cousin, and my dad, and um, they're both very good. My cousin's a very very good golfer, and it was harder for me to golf because I got wider shoulders, I got my chest. My pectorals are kind of pushing against my shoulders, my lats in the back are kind of pulling out, so it was harder for me to get that swing in there. Where my cousin being like focusing on golf for the most part. He also plays football, but a big focus on golf. He has the body built for it, so he can really dial in and just send zingers down and just be really accurate with it. Where for me, it was very very mentally hard for me to not want to just destroy the ball every single time, because my all of my energy in the way I train is just explosive. So every time I want to exert any sort of strength, it's just bam, just want to fucking just destroy it. So it's very hard for me to focus on just overall smooth motion through the swing. But that goes for any sport. However you train needs to be adapted to whatever you're going to be focusing on. Basketball is going to be focusing on being very lean. You don't want to put on really any serious muscle, and you want to have good, strong shoulders, and then also good, mobility in your legs, good flexibility, stuff like that, good athleticism. So, I mean, each sport's going to call for something completely different. Football is going to be Training for football is going to be the closest thing you get to training like a bodybuilder or power lifter without actually training like those people. So they're the closest. I would argue they're the closest outside of like fighters. Fighting is going to be pretty close. If you're an MMA fighter, karate, whatever it is, a lot of them train very similar to bodybuilders and powerlifters and all of that, CrossFitters, very similar sense of training. But each sport's going to play a different role, and no matter what you do, it's not gonna hurt. As long as you target it properly. Like if you're going to be a golfer, you don't want to be out there just going for deadlift PRs, thinking that you're training for golf, and that's not the reality. You don't need to be training deadlift PRs.
I
You can.
see that's where you're wrong. I yell lightweight when I drive off the first
Yeah,
tee.
you don't yell four. You just yell ain't nothing but a peanut.
Toot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a lot of like there's actually been studies done where the younger you start your sports, the better you're going to be off. And essentially, what I'm trying to say is there's a study done for basketball players, um, and no matter their genetics, the sooner they started basketball, the taller they ended up being, because being a basketball player called for a taller physique. So your body naturally grew more height to fit into the sport, especially the more you played. So there's a lot of tall basketball players out there that went against the genetic makeup or their own genetic makeup and ended up being taller than was predicted by their doctors because they played a sport that required them to be taller. Football is the same kind of way. It's gonna have you be built more. You're gonna gain size. My cousin, when he started, first started playing football, it took him a little while, but then all of a sudden he sprouted straight up, gained a lot of height and gained a lot of weight, and he was bigger than every single kid on the field. It's just what his body called for when he started to adapt to it. So
That's
whatever,
also like mental affirmations. Like if you day in and day out at a young age playing some sport or whatever, like tell yourself internally that you have to be bigger, your body
yeah,
listens. Like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
This is a real thing. Like it's not a lot of it is bro science. I will admit that, but it is absolutely a thing to have those positive affirmations truly change like 100%, not 100%, like a large chunk of what we do in the gym is just the mental side of things, like convincing ourselves to actually pull ourselves out of the gutter and whatnot. And that kind of mental side of things is what allows for that direct kind of insane growth that makes no sense to the doctors or the family or anybody like that, just like Paul was mentioning.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's going to be kind of manifested in your mind, and I hate to use the word manifest because it's kind of gotten a bad rep, especially with people like you manifest it with the universe, and I'm going to share this on
Well,
Facebook to
you,
manifest it.
you,
It's
you utilize the word differently. That
yeah, it's
manifesting in the sense that we're talking about is more in a like direct correlation mental to physical, but manifesting in, the loosey goosey lefty kind of way is like I'm just going to manifest something because it makes me feel good. Like that's
yeah,
that
it's
it's more of a like hormonal release instead of an actual practice.
yeah, I can't stand how it's gotten a bad rep because it's like people be like, oh, like you show like a bank account with like $1 million and it's like share this on Facebook to manifest it. It's like you're not going to manifest a random $1 million in your bank account, but
No, but
you
what you can do is
manifest.
you take that picture and you turn that into mental motivation, and that
Yeah,
is what takes it. And that's the manifestation you want to be doing, not the thinking if I repost this post, I will get $1 million put in my account by Bezos. Like
yeah,
that's
exactly.
not what you have to view it in the sense of let me use this as a reason to go kick ass today.
Right, right. So, with that being said, I mean, it's a lot of when it comes to performance, it's going to just come down to your mindset and what you manifest in your own mind. If you're going to be in the gym, you're like, I'm not going to make any progress. You keep thinking negatively. It's gonna happen. You're never going to make that progress. You're always going to be, kind of a step back. And I've talked about it before where I've had times, I reach out to my coach. I'm like, dude, I just can't do this. Like, I just feel like I'm not making progress. I just keep thinking I'm not making progress and shit. And I think that also kind of played a role recently gaining weight. Like I keep thinking I'm gaining weight. And I think that's kind of part of the reason why I am gaining weight is because I keep thinking that I am. But when I was losing weight, it was because I thought that, oh, okay, I'm in more carbs. I'm taking more anabolic stuff like that. So now I'm not going to be able to lose weight. But I was like, I think I'm going to, like, it was just weird reverse psychology where it's like, I don't want to lose weight, but because I kept thinking about losing weight, I ended up losing weight. So I think a lot of the mind is obviously very, very powerful. So the more you think about whatever your goal is going to be, the more it's going to kind of manifest into reality. So if you think, oh, I'm not going to be able to play basketball because I'm too short, I'm too short, I'm too short, that's not the reality. You got to just manifest it in your mind, stay positive, keep a positive mindset, and I can't stand when people say I can't do this, I can't do this, and it's you can only say that until you've tried everything and went to as far as possible. And then you could be like, okay, I can't do it. If I went as far as I could bodybuilding and just pushed my body to the absolute limit to almost death and still couldn't win, then I'd be like, okay, I can't bodybuild. It's just not meant for me. That's what Rich Piana did. He pushed his body way too far, went way too far with it, nearly killed himself, and was still not even pro. So he's just like, this is just not for me. I'm just not meant to make pro. But then some guys just don't even have to try. John Daly didn't even really have to try to be a good fucking golfer. He just
Yeah.
is. It's just some people just have the natural genetics for it. So it's no matter what you do, there's going to be someone who's better than you. That's the reality. There's someone who's going to come along and dethrone Chris Bumstead. It's going to happen. Someone came along and dethroned Arnold. Someone came in. Jay Cutler came along and dethroned Ronnie. There's going to be someone who's better than you. That's going to happen. But what you can do is do the best that you possibly can. And why would you hinder any potential success by thinking that lifting weights or training in the gym is going to pull away from your sport? That's not the reality. The more exercise you get in, the more you exert your body, the more your body's going to adapt. You need to put your body in uncomfortable situations in order to get better at whatever you're looking to do. That goes for really anything ultimately. And practice makes perfect. Writers, for instance, they're not just going to write a book and become successful. Very seldom does that ever happen. You need to keep trying, and failure is a good thing. Failure is going to be a good thing. Adversity is very important. Perseverance is
Yeah.
very important. stuff. You're going through adversity right now, but that's only going to make you more driven for the future and prove to yourself that you want it more than your hand is going to hinder you. You know what I mean?
That's
So
actually what my coach said when I reached out to him. Because I reached out to him and I was like, man, this past week, like there are at least a dozen moments where I thought about texting you and saying, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore.
yeah,
And after that, he sends me a lot of audio messages because he works
yeah,
a decent amount, and so it arguably better to hear it that way than through a text. But
hmm
he let me know that just the mere fact that I'm in there, and right now I'm only in the gym maybe 2 days a week, just because I crush a leg day, and then I kind of get myself through an upper body type day, and I'm
hmm
only really in there for 2 days a week. Um, he's like, just the fact that you're able to be in there is showing your tenacity and your like want for this. And
hmm
literally just hearing that reinvigorated me for another week or two. Granted, last week I had another moment, and the, getting sent the Rocky speech pulled me out of it, but
yeah,
like you just battle these tough times, and it's just like I coach a girls varsity basketball team, and one of the things I tell them is that you're never ever allowed to lose. You're allowed to fail, but you're never allowed to lose, because the day that you tell yourself that you lost is the day you can't recover from.
hmm
And you need to be okay with failure, because failure is where you learn from, but failure is never a loss because you always pull something from it. If you look at it as a loss, so we lost this basketball game, so therefore I lost today, you're already a step behind the next person, and you have to be the
hmm
hardest working person in the room. And if you allow yourself to be deterred by losses instead of failures, you're just so far behind. And that needs to be applied for every young athlete, young person thinking about the gym, because in the gym every day you go to failure is part of your routine.
yeah,
Like when Paul and I are in the gym, we actually strive for failure.
hmm
Like our top sets, if we're not hitting failure, we either don't have enough weight or we're not pushing ourselves hard enough.
yeah,
And we day in and day out want to get ourselves to failure. And it's not a loss, because we learn every day. We learn, okay, this week I got 8.5 reps, whereas last week I got 7 reps. Like I hit failure, but I'm improving in this aspect. Let's shoot for 9, or maybe up the weight. Like we take every little instance of failure and learn from it. Whereas a young person in the gym is so plagued by the ego lifting side of things, where they think that if you hit failure, you've lost. But in reality, if you hit failure, your muscles are winning, because you're able to push yourself to the extreme. And that's the
hmm
kind of thing that needs to be applied to every single young mind in the gym. Like you want to have fallen over from a squat at least once by the time you turn 16. Like have however much weight you have on it, and you want to have fallen over, like backwards or dropping down if you have the squat supporters there for you. Like you want to have broken down at least once,
yeah.
because that is true failure, and that you want to achieve true failure. In fact, you want to be doing that every day in the gym, but of course that's not going to happen, because we can't mentally do that. But if you're able to day in and day out hit failure, you will learn.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, when you're starting out in the gym, you really got to be careful. And I see tons of kids, especially squatting improperly. That's another thing when you're younger. Uh, do not. I mean, it's
Ass to grass.
well, yeah, but I was gonna say it's gonna be very hard not to be intimidated. But the bigger the guy in the gym, the more likely they're gonna want to talk about what they're doing.
Yep.
So going to the gym, just ask how to do form, which we've talked about a million times before. But just ask around, see what proper form you can do, and if you're going to a gym that has a trainer and they're not doing something, say, hey, I hate to bother you, or I don't mean to interrupt your day, but I just want to see if you can kind of give me some quick pointers on how to do squats, because it is hard and I'm new, and just want to see if I'm doing it properly. So, stuff like that's going to go a long way. And that's also kind of part of our podcast here. We answer questions that a lot of people don't want to ask other people. So we want to present that information to you guys, so you guys have it already. But to kind of add to what you're saying about failure, especially in team sports, it's tough when you watch professional, but like on the earlier side, high school, middle school, travel, rec, a lot of the time when you hypothetically lose a game, you're not necessarily losing the game. You're beat by the better team that day. And it's not your fault. It's just the team you face is just the better team that day. And the next time you face them, you can be the better team. I mean, it's bodybuilding is the same way we talked about it. Just because, a bodybuilder on stage got second doesn't necessarily mean he lost that day. Just the guy who beat him was better that day. That's all it came down to. He was the better bodybuilder. The team was just a better team that day. So you gotta understand that first and foremost. You, especially being on the younger side, 12, 13, you guys have so much information available to you guys now. When I was your age, that was 10, 11 years ago. I mean, Facebook was really just starting to kick off. I mean, Facebook was started like 08, 07, 08 or something like that. I was 12 in 2010. So it was really starting to kick off. Let alone YouTube. YouTube was only really around a few years. I mean, it was like cat videos and shit. Like that was what YouTube was. It wasn't what it is today. Instagram wasn't even around, I don't think. I mean, most tools that you guys have now, we didn't have when we were 12, 13. You guys are very, very blessed to have that. But it's also cursed too, because you're going to have a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of bad information. And the problem with all of this information is that no matter what theory you have, you can find some sort of article or study confirming it. And that's the problem. There's a video I watched recently where this guy said, let me take coffee, for instance. And he said, let me look up coffee ruining eyesight. And there was a study done where there was potential that coffee can increase the chances of glaucoma. But then he looked at the opposite. And there are studies that show that increased caffeine and coffee intake can actually show potential performance increase in your eyes. So your eyes can start seeing better if you have, this additional supplement in your life or whatever. Like it's whatever you Google, whatever you research, you're going to find something supporting it. So you got to be careful with what you're looking up. That's why they say don't ever look up your symptoms when you're sick, because you're going to find something that says you're going to die. Like
WebMD, you have 24 hours to live. No,
yeah,
I have a cough.
exactly. It's like you're going to find something that says you're going to die. It's just the reality of the world that we live in today. So be careful with the information you're gathering. And social media is very, very untrustworthy in that sense. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, almost never trust what you're reading, most likely, unless they're a reputable source. If they're a reputable source, then sure. But watching Michael Hearn, I mean, he's known as being unnatural, but when he has social media and these kids are seeing him say he's natural, he's kind of setting this wrong expectation that people can look that way without taking anabolics, which very, very, even in your peak prime, like 30 to 33 years old, is the best you're ever going to look. Even if you're natural and had amazing genetics, there is still strong potential that you're never going to look like Michael Hearn. He looks phenomenal for his age, but he's also taking shit. He has to. Bare minimum, he's taking TRT. Bare minimum. So, being 12, 13, you got to be careful with what information you're gathering and where you're getting it from. So you just please just take every information with a grain of salt. And when it comes to your biggest thing right now is to just avoid social media as best you can, because all these people are going to be, this is how I look, or this is my photo. They're all edited, they're photoshopped and shit. I mean, I put some filters on my photos and shit to make, my photo look a little bit sharper, because, my photo kind of, beautifies me a little bit. So I edit my photos a little bit to make me look a little bit better than I do for my camera. The biggest thing for me is that I want to look better in person than I do in my photos. That's my biggest thing, which I've gotten before, which is great. But when you're looking at social media, please take it with a grain of salt. And your biggest thing right now is just getting in the gym, learning proper form, and learning how the human body works. Ignore how you look in the mirror. Do not worry about that yet right now. Just learn how to lift, learn how to target your muscles depending on what you're trying to do, and just eat tons of food. Especially being 12, 13, you're going to be growing a lot. Yes, clean foods, not fast food bullshit. Obviously just clean foods. If you're going out, you can eat clean at pretty much every restaurant you go to, most likely, as long as it's not like fast food or like fried. If it's all fried, that's a different story. But most restaurants will have some sort of chicken breast salad or some sort of rice you can get, or a steak, or salmon, something like that. But just eat tons of clean food, chicken, white rice, which, I mean, all this we've talked about before, but this is just more reinforced, especially with age. 12, 13. I mean, shit, when I was 12, 13, I think I had fucking braces, I'm pretty sure. I can't even remember. Yeah, I had braces, I think, but it's, your body's going to change drastically. I mean, like if I look at my freshman year high school photos all the way up to senior year, it's a huge, huge difference. And then from senior year to now is a huge difference. You're going to keep changing. Your body's going to keep adapting. But the biggest thing is that you, like I've said before, you set that foundation. So 12, 13, just get in the gym, just get that like routine in there. The biggest thing is getting the routine, getting the form down, understanding what you're doing, and then going from there. Because for most people, it sucks. It sucks going to the gym for a couple weeks. I mean, after 2 weeks, you're going to start getting the endorphins. You're going to start craving the gym, but getting in that routine is going to be the hardest part. So if you can get into the routine of things and make it part of your life, then you're going to set yourself up for the future. And I mean, the gym for me is part of my life. It's outside of bodybuilding. Even when I'm done bodybuilding, I'm still going to train because it's part of my life. I love doing it. It's something that I love to do, and bettering yourself physically is going to also better yourself mentally, and then vice versa. So set that foundation now so that when you are growing into your physique and your body as you age, you're going to set yourself up better. And I remember in high school, there was very few kids who went to the gym consistently. And those that did, everybody knew who they were. And everybody, like, all the girls fucking wanted them. I remember that. Like there was one guy, he didn't like, he was in high school. We're talking high school here. Like, I didn't know anything about the gym. And he had, to me, ginormous arms. I'm like, this dude's fucking huge. Now my arms would make his arms look tiny, but like, back then I thought that was crazy. So if you set that foundation, even socially, you're going to set yourself up in a better place too, because I remember, a lot of people wanted to hang out with him and shit because this dude was just the biggest kid in the grade as far as muscles go. So set yourself up. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of it. And, it's only going to help you in sports if you're competing in sports. So just get in there, and do it, and ask people to help you out ultimately, I think.
Yeah, and another big thing that comes out of going to the gym too at a young age is that you have social development, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something that's not really, known, because what happens for us in our adult years when we're in the gym, like not everyone might be like me, because I talk to every soul that I can when I'm in the gym. And not everyone is like that, but at the bare minimum, you interact with people, whether it's, hey, you done with this bench or whatever. And excuse me, and what ends up happening is that if you're in the gym at a young age and you're, just doing your workout, you are going to interact with people, and you will learn how to speak with adults, because speaking with adults at a young age is far different than speaking with your friends. Like, you don't use the slang that you used to. You might not be presenting yourself in a professional way, but you're at the very least in a respectable way. And to learn that kind of communication is valuable to the highest extreme, because you're setting yourself up to build connections with adults that you might be able to utilize once you do reach your own adulthood. Like, what if the person that you're speaking to happens to be in the field that you're going in, and an impression you made 6 years ago when you first went in the gym, and now you're seeing this person in an interview or something like that, and you're now able to interact with them in a very professional manner. You built all that from the gym. And
Mm-hmm.
the gym also allows you to have just general people skills. Like, the most charismatic people I know are people who are in the gym every day, because we have to talk to people every day, whether it's saying hi to the person at the desk, or when you're just moving around the gym and engaging in casual conversation. All of that is done in the beginning in a very stressful setting, because in the beginning, and you're not the yoked out of your mind individual, those
Mm-hmm.
conversations are daunting, because you see
Mm-hmm.
people who are very, physically fit. And to have those conversations puts you outside of your comfort zone, but over time you you become comfortable in your uncomfortable areas. And that's really what happens socially once you're in the gym. Because, I mean, like I said, not everyone has the over the top, extroverted, charismatic skills that I do. But if you build up from a, shy, introverted side of things, you will be able to speak to just about anybody you want to, because you're building up these skills in a very, I'm going to call it a judged setting, but in reality, it's not a judged setting. It's just perceived as a judged setting. Like the gym, people who are not in the gym, people view the gym as a place where you go and you get judged every day by other people. In reality, you're judging yourself more than anybody. So it's just a perceived judgment area. Um, and what happens in reality is that the biggest dude in the gym will probably come over and dab you up after you PR or something like that.
Yeah.
And it like the judgment is such a backwards concept to people outside of the gym, which is why that whole Planet Fitness model doesn't work, because the judgment free zone is actually the most judgmental place in the world.
I hate
Which
it,
is
dude.
why the outside eyes does not work in terms of the gym. And once you get over the mental hurdle of yourself understanding that nobody cares what you look like in there, you're totally fine. Like
Mm,
everyone is in there because the gym is inherently selfish, so everyone's in there for their own gain. And if someone does comment towards you or something like that, it's going to be in a especially amongst men, it's like, bro, you look huge or something like that. Like it's such a
yeah.
positive, even if you're not huge. Like, for example, I know that I have lacking arms. I have good tone, but I don't have good size. And after a lift, one dude came over and was like, hey, my girlfriend and I were, looking, you got some boulders on your arm. And like for me, I know I don't have boulders on my arm. But just the fact that this dude is saying that shows that, everybody's there to hype each other up. And very seldom will you find someone who's there to bring you down. But the people who will bring you down are generally the outsiders looking in. So that's why in the gym, it is there's so little judgment actually going on. The judgment comes from outside of the gym, so you just have to be able to mentally separate those two when you're
Mhm.
getting into the gym for the first time.
Yeah, you'll never know how people look at you. I mean, the other day I was hitting arms. What day was it? I forget what day it was. I think it was actually, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Friday, no, not yesterday. 2 days ago, Friday. I was hitting arms, and the front desk guy poked my chest, and he's like, "Your chest looking big, dude." Like it was just like I wasn't expecting it. You never know. Like I was shirtless, granted, because I was going to go do cardio, and I at the time I was working right after, so I didn't want to like drench my shirt in sweat, so I was just doing it shirtless. But um, it's like you never know how people see you, and a lot of people you'd be very very surprised the insecurities that most people have. So if you show any sort of bit of confidence, that goes a long way, and the gym's going to help develop that. The gym's going to help develop confidence in yourself, and be careful with newbie confidence, because we've talked about it before, where the most toxic people in the gym are going to be the newest people in
Yep.
the gym. It's the most toxic people. That's why Planet Fitness is typically very toxic. We almost always recommend against Planet Fitness, is because a lot of people there are very new. They're very judgmental, because they're starting to see their first bit of progress, and it gets to their head. So if you can, especially if you're in the Gardner area, for your students that are listening, I will always recommend Vanarchy in the Gardner area. Vanarchy is the best. If you don't want to go to Vanarchy and want to go somewhere else, or have it within walking distance, Muscleworks Gym is also really good. Um,
Fitness Concepts is another one.
Fitness Concepts isn't bad either. That was a very busy gym. Vanarchy it is kind of intimidating at first, because it is kind of
Yeah,
underground, but
that's yeah.
at the end of the day, I think that if you're going to be a beginner, I think for me, if I could tell myself anything back in the day, Vanarchy is the best starting point, because Van and Steve, who own the gym, are the best guys ever. Like Steve's kind of quiet, but Van is a very social guy, and he will show anybody what to do in the gym. So I've asked him for tips here and there. He's a great, great guy. So if you have the opportunity, I recommend going to Vanarchy, because Van's a great guy. He's there from 8 to 12, I think, every day. But there is also a nice guy that's there from, I think, 4 to 8 p.m. every day. So and from my understanding, you can ask him for tips as well. I mean, the dude's built too. So, I almost always recommend Vanarchy. MuscleWorks is good. I know plenty of guys who've gone there. Fitness Concepts is good. Fitness Concepts is more of a commercial gym, rather than Vanarchy is way more underground, hole in the wall. You have to kind of know where it is to know where it is. You know what I mean?
You
Like it's
really do. There's
yeah,
no like advertisements on the side of it or anything
yeah.
like that.
It's all word of mouth. Like they don't even. I haven't even seen them post on their Instagram in fucking forever. Like it's all word of mouth. So
I only saw it because of the day that we went, but like
yeah.
2-3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I stumbled across it. I forget what happened. I think somebody posted about it on social media, so I started asking people around what they thought of Vanarchy, and I got pretty positive reviews from people. So I just started going there, and I love it. And it'll always be my home gym. And every time I visit home, it's like when I'm away from home, I'm like, oh, Vanarchy is just another gym. But then when I go to Vanarchy, and I'm like, fuck, I love this gym so much. Like it's just the perfect gym. There's nothing I'd change about it. Well, all right. The one thing I do miss is their squat press. I think they got rid of the squat press, but that's it. Everything else I think is phenomenal. I miss it so much, but, Vanarchy is great for Gardner area. The Mount Wachusett gym I think is decent.
That's
From what,
upgraded from what I've been told as well.
yeah,
My
I've
parents
heard that
are
too.
my parents go there, and I'm in the process of moving back to Gardner, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can come with us to the mountain." I was like, respectfully, no, but they told me that it's been upgraded. I mean, there's only so much space that they have there, but it has been upgraded to an extent,
Yeah,
which is nice to see. And they do have all the classics that you have there. You know, your bench press,
yeah.
your squat racks, your utility machines in between. But it's just not the vibe for me.
Are you still going to be going to
Absolutely.
Okay,
And
all right,
Empire will I will continue to go to Empire even if I have to walk there from Gardner
fair
to
enough.
Leominster,
How long
because
is the
that's
drive?
highway at the rate that I drive, probably like 20 minutes.
Oh, that's not
Because I mean,
terrible.
because you've seen me drive, so it's I'm what they call an efficient driver. So
Yeah, you can call it that. Yeah, that's not too bad then. I drive about like 12-ish minutes to the gym right now.
yeah,
But yeah, so Vanarchy is good. MuscleWorks is good. I think they upgraded since the last time I was there. I was comparing Vanarchy and MuscleWorks before I started going to Vanarchy, and I chose Vanarchy easily at the time. It was fucking night and day. But I think MuscleWorks has improved drastically since then. Fitness Concepts isn't bad. Fitness Concepts is a better overall gym. They're gonna have like classes and shit and
yeah.
stuff like that. So like if you're interested in that, you can do that. But for me personally, Vanarchy is just I'll always preach Vanarchy and Van and Steve themselves.
That actually segues into a really good point for young people getting into the gym, utilizing classes, because
Yeah, good.
it's a good way to build general knowledge on an area you might not know about, like group lift type settings where you have other people also learning at the same time. Like, one thing that you need to realize is that even the biggest dude in the gym still learns every day that he's in there. And
Hmm.
so you need to get yourself to understand that it is a learning experience. It is not you're going in there and just lifting weights. Like the super classic gym bros are the dumbest people, when in reality gym bros might be the smartest people, just because of the amount of, discipline and mental understanding we put into the gym and our diet and everything. So allowing yourself to be open-minded and taking a class or two just to kind of build some general knowledge, that's really beneficial at a young age.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's also why it's like it's good to start at a gym like that is because a lot of people a lot of the people that go to Vanarchy have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
You go to Planet Fitness, most people are new, so you're not going to really learn anything from people around you. Where at the more underground, the more serious the gym, the more serious the people are there. The gym I go to right now is kind of similar. I mean, there's a big sign in the front. It's not like Vanarchy where there really isn't like a big sign, but there is a big sign at the gym I go to right now. But it's like the people that are there are serious, and I almost never see groups of guys lifting. I mean, the most I've ever seen for people in there is like 6 or 7 total. It's a pretty small gym, but um, you're not going to see like giant groups of kids just lifting. So I think um, the more underground, the more serious the gym, the better your results are going to most likely be. And also the more simple too. The more simple the gym, the better.
Yep.
I think something that I've kind of come to believe in is that when you have more options um, to utilize when in the gym, most likely the worse your results are going to be, because you're going to try out all these different pieces of machinery and change it up every single week and do all these different kinds of things. But the best bodybuilders in the world, the best results people have ever gotten is the more consistent they are. The gym I go to right now, I've gotten everything dialed into the point where it's like every single day I'm in the gym, I'm doing the same thing as I did last week, minus the progressive overload. And it's because they don't have a million pieces of equipment, but they have enough to hit everything in a couple different ways. So I've tried out everything over the past like month and a half, and I've gotten dialed in. I have like two different leg days, one where it's focused on barbell squats and one versus like a machine squat. But for the most part, when you go to like an underground gym, you're not going to have a million pieces of equipment to choose from, which is great. And it can help you with your progress. Especially when you're new to the gym on the younger side too. It's gonna be difficult to figure out exactly what's going on, because there's so many different things that you're going to see in the gym, so many different pieces of machinery, so many different ways to hit this or that or this or that. It's going to be hard to figure out what you necessarily want to do. So when you're starting out, that's why, stuff goes to Empire. I will always recommend Vanarchy. Empire is good in Leominster area. Vanarchy is much smaller than Empire, much, much smaller, much less people. But Vanarchy has a piece of equipment for everything. And even at that, a few pieces of equipment for everything. But a lot of the stuff that they have is kind of on the older side, which is great because you don't see it anymore. It's a lot of the stuff is, stuff that's not made anymore that targets in a specific way. So you're able to really get dialed in on this machinery and understand how these different muscle groups work and understand your progress too. So if this machine isn't working, you try out this other one, you're like, oh shit, okay, this is working for me. This is ergonomic to me. And another good thing about Vanarchy, Empire kind of shares the same thing, is that, and the gym I go to now kind of shares the same thing, where they have all different kinds of machinery and equipment that's not one particular brand. I've gone to gyms that have mostly one brand, whether that's Life Fitness or fucking Hammer Strength or Atlantis or whatever it is. They have mostly of that one brand, and if that one brand doesn't agree with you ergonomically, no matter what age you are, it's going to be very hard to make the progress that you want to make. Life Fitness does not agree with me physically, so like to go to a gym that has entirely Life Fitness equipment is very difficult for me. So I think finding a gym that doesn't have one particular brand loyalty also plays a big role too. So that's why I'll always recommend Vanarchy. And why a good reason that stuff goes to Empire too is that there is all different kinds of stuff that he can try out and different stuff that he can really get dialed in. But also, like I said a million times already this session, is that you don't want to be overwhelmed with choices. The simpler, the better. And some of the best bodybuilders out there, all they do is free weight. I mean, it just depends on your body, but the less choices you have, the more consistent you're going to be. And you're just going to make more and more progress. And we've said it a million times, consistency is key. And if you start the consistency at a young age, you're gonna set yourself up even better for the future, because by the time you're 18, 19 and ready to go on to college or trying to get a scholarship or something like that for a sport, you're going to be at the point where you know exactly how your body responds to every piece of machinery, and you're going to go into your college gym or whatever and be like, okay, this is what I need to use, and you're just going to fucking nail it. Where a lot of kids in college are drinking, partying, not really focusing on themselves physically, and then when they go to the gym, they just kind of fuck around, so if you set yourself up now and set up these good routines now and this good mindset for the future, you're gonna be even better off. And it's obviously have fun, enjoy being the age you are, enjoy being young, have fun, hang out with your friends, whatever. But when you do have the time outside of school, or if the school bus is able to drop you off there, especially if you're in Gardner, take the bus that drops you off to Vanarchy or whatever, and then have your parents pick you up or something, whatever the case is. Do that during the weekdays. On the weekends, focus on having fun, I guess. I mean, you don't need to be training 6-7 days a week. Maybe work out Monday through Friday, kind of do like a push pull leg day. Push pull legs, push pull, and then take the weekend off and then do push pull legs, push pull while going to a gym in your area and having fun on the weekends. I mean, you don't have to take it too seriously, but setting the good foundation, setting good habits is the word I've been looking for. Setting good habits is good for your age. 12, 13 is perfect time to do that. And you need to utilize that, I think. And that's just what I would tell myself if I was your age. So,
And we always look at the greatest of all times and build off of what they do. And there's a super famous interview from Sebum a couple years back where they ask him about his college experience, and Sebum actually breaks down in tears because he talks about all the social adventures he had to sacrifice and all of the like emotional growth he could have, taken on if he wasn't as disciplined as he was. Like he talks about how friends going off to parties and whatnot while he stays home, cooks another meal, and then does cardio. Like, there is such a mental side of things to becoming the greatest. And while we're not all going to become the greatest in whatever, respective sport or area that we, focus on, we could still utilize the same practice. And while you don't have to necessarily deprive yourself of all interactions, you do have to have that mental discipline, especially among the gym and bodybuilding world, because for us, our grind is not just in the 1-2 hours we're in the gym. It's a 24-hour thing, because for us, it's our lifestyle, it's our diet, it's our water intake, it's all of that. And you need to be able to balance all that in a productive and healthy way, which begins at the young age, like Paul was saying, with habit building. So while you don't have to stress yourself in the manner that the elite do, you certainly want to begin building those habits and those proper and productive ways to efficiently achieve goals that you want to achieve.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean, Sebum's an interesting story. I mean, the other thing with Sebum too that people forget is that this dude was a fucking unit at like 18. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was massive already. So sometimes you're just going to know who's going to be successful in this sport or in certain sports just right away when they have that natural aptitude toward that sport. And Sebum's just one of them for bodybuilding. But I mean, there's with anything you do, I mean, don't worry about like your number one thing right now, especially 12, 13 is enjoying life. I mean, school. I mean, for me, school sucked. I hated school. No offense, no offense, teacher stuff. I was never, I think it kind of goes down to my ADD as well. It was very hard for me to do school and
I
I
actually
didn't
hated
like
school
it.
too. And I hate
Yeah.
school now, which is why I haven't gone back to get my master's.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of teachers who make school fun. There's classes that I enjoyed. But for the most part, I just didn't enjoy it. So enjoy what you can right now and enjoy having fun with your friends and make these strong connections. High school is really where you got to focus on that. Not really focus, but like high school is really where that foundation is going to come from with your friend group. Middle school, my friend group is, I don't talk to anybody I talk to in middle school, but that's not going to always be the case. It's also because I went to Monty Tech. I ended up having to leave behind everybody at middle school pretty much. But granted, a lot of my friends from middle school went to Monty Tech anyways. But like, I mean, most of my friend group now actually, no, I take that back. Eric, well, Hamill, Brad, not you, you went to Gardner.
I was gonna say, I don't hang out with anybody that I went to middle or high school with.
Yeah, actually, a good chunk of my friends I went to middle school with. All right, so I take back what I was saying. But high school will also show you who's going to stick around. Middle school, a lot of things change between middle school and the end of high school. So have fun with your friends, enjoy being young, enjoy being, the age that you are. But like I said, just building these habits is going to be very important. Building this proper form is going to be very important. If you have no aspirations to be bodybuilder, then don't focus on it. Don't just because people talk about it, just because you see it on social media, doesn't mean you have to train the way bodybuilders do or eat the way bodybuilders do. Most people in the gym are just there to be healthy, there to make progress, there to lose fat or gain muscle or whatever. And that's what you can do. That's most people. Where this podcast is on the niche side. We talk about bodybuilding, we talk about the niche side of things when it comes to the gym. Less than 1% of probably all people who go to the gym are bodybuilders. Granted, depending on the gym you go to, you're going to see a higher concentration of that. Vanarchy not really, I guess Vanarchy. Vanarchy kind of has a higher concentration, but like Empire's going to have a higher concentration than most places. Most other gyms, as far as bodybuilders go, Fitchburg Strength and Fitness is a similar ball game. They're going to have a higher concentration of bodybuilders, muscle works, Vanarchy, but most people just are in the gym to be healthy and to feel better about themselves, to lose fat, to look a little bit better in the mirror, and that's what you can focus on right now. Have fun with your friends at the gym. I mean, don't go fucking five guys deep. Just show up with like a friend or two and just have fun. The route that I have gone, especially being down here, is kind of like a lone wolf kind of lifting situation because I don't lift with anybody. And almost in a way, I prefer not to, in a way, just because I have my specific routines and specific things I need to work on. So I don't have to adapt it to anybody else's. And it's like that video that I sent you, stuff. It's like a lot of the time when I train with someone now, it's more like, I'm going to show you how to do my routine versus like, we're going to train together and do stuff together. It's like, no, we're doing what I do. You're lifting with me.
You're just an NPC with me.
Yeah. You're going to be spotting me, really. And even then it's like spotting is like, I'm going to go to failure and I just want you to help lift the weight off me. I don't want you to pull the weight or anything like that to help me. I just don't want it to collapse on me. So just have fun with the gym and have fun learning these things because you're only going to learn it once. Once you learn it, it's going to stick with you. But again, just be careful of social media. Be careful of all these people talking about, taking drugs and shit like that. I talk about it to raise awareness, but just because I talk about it doesn't mean you need to think about it. Just enjoy.
Yeah, that's no person under the age of 18 should even be considering any anabolic use. Not that it's even that accessible. I mean, it is accessible, but nobody should even be considering it. There's no reason to at that age.
Yeah, it's like, I just knew when I was in high school, middle school, I mean, not even middle school, just like high school, I just knew like anabolic steroids were a thing. I didn't even know what they were. Like, I didn't
Most
know
people don't even know. Most people don't go by them by anabolics. They just think steroids.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the full name was anabolic steroids, but yeah, most people just call it steroids. And I didn't really know what any of it was. I mean, when I first watched Pain and Gain, like, I didn't know. I mean, not that I thought that was actual steroids, but like muscle juice, like that, for all I knew, that could have been actual steroids. Like, that could have been something actually that guys used. So it's just, it's a damn shame that it's so, like, these kids see it so often now, but it's also, I think, a good thing too, because they get the right expectations. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, on one side, there's awareness and there's an understanding that these people take these things and that's why they look this way. But then you got the other side where it's like, because they know more about it, they're more prone to potentially using it. And that's, so it's just this double-sided sword. So, be careful of stuff like that. I mean, it is very easy to get, but if you're under even like 22, 23, you shouldn't be thinking about it. Honestly, most guys, shouldn't even really be thinking about it. There's so much that goes into it. And if you don't plan on bodybuilding, don't even ever consider it, really, at the end of the day. The only time you should really ever even consider it is if you want to like be a pro in bodybuilding. And like I said, even then, your age and your genetics is going to play a big role. There's plenty of guys who are natural who can make pro, but then there's plenty of guys who like are great natural, but then they take anabolics and their whole physique falls to shit. So it's a big risk you got to be taking when you start it. And I did have a kind of a rant yesterday on my Snapchat. I'm not sure if you watched it at all, stuff, but I talked about how like Liver King, for instance, was huge on TikTok, and he's like, oh, I'm natural now, I don't take anything else, I'm natural, blah blah blah. And it's like, he's not natural now, he's just not taking anything. Once you go the route of steroids, there's no going back. You're never going to be natural again. You can get to the point where you naturally produce everything, but you're never going to go back to your baseline. That's no such thing. You're going to wean yourself off it, and your body's going to start naturally producing it, but you're going to be in a worse place than you were when you started it. So you're never going to be natural again. There's no going back. And it's kind of like drug addicts. Once you're an addict, you're always an addict. It's always going to be a monkey in your back. You're always going to be having to deal with it. And same with anabolics. It's like, once you're on anabolics, there's no going back. Your test production is not going to be the same ever again. Your estrogen production is not going to be the same. Nothing's going to be the same ever again. You can get to the point where it's almost the same, but it's not quite. And you're never going to be natural because you took it at some point. The second you take anything orally, injecting it, whatever it is, even like a cream, like a testosterone cream, the second you take any of that, it's out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really something to keep in the back of your mind, is to avoid it. But the expectations we want to make sure are set, because when I talk about, oh, I'm losing weight and gaining muscle, blah, 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 like this is with the help of anabolics. Very seldom could you ever lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. That's why we talk about cutting versus bulking, because you got to almost always 99.9% of the time, you need to focus on one or the other. And if you're going to be focusing on both, you're never going to make any progress. So when you're in the gym, especially at the age you are, assess where you are physically. If you're very low fat percentage, on the skinnier side, then focus on building muscle. If you're on the chunkier side, like I was, then focus on losing fat and just getting better performance in the gym, getting stronger, really strong. Your strength is going to play kind of a role where you are right now. Muscle size is not going to really play a role because you're so young. It's not necessarily dense muscle yet. Even our age, where it's not really dense muscle yet. Dense muscle really comes around 28, 29. So just focus on losing fat, building that foundation, and then kind of going from there. And you're going to set yourself up for whatever sport you're competing in. And like any myth you hear, anything like, oh, this is going to, lifting is going to stop you from running this fast, or you're going to slow down because you're going to gain size, or like your height's going to stop because you're lifting weight. Like none of that's fucking true. Like none of that's going to be true. It's only going to help you. So, consider that when you are going to be training, is that you're only going to help yourself.
Yeah. And, a big thing that young people will focus on, especially considering the rates in America, is that the obesity rate is wildly up there in the young population of America right now. And such a common misnomer is that if you want to lose weight, you have to do cardio, which is what I try. And I have so many people who come up to me or like young students who are asking about losing weight, and they go, yeah, I ran 2 miles yesterday. And I was like, great, your insides are going to be great, but outside it's not really going to do a damn thing. Like the way that I try and talk to people about it is that in order to lose weight, you do need to do cardio, but it is not the sole contributor, nor should it be the sole like proprietor in your understanding of losing weight, which is why so many people, when they, and even in their adult years, are saying, oh, I've made this goal to lose weight. What are you doing for it? I run. Great. You're not actually going to lose that weight. And that comes down to dieting. It comes down to lifestyle. It comes down to sleep and recovery. And it comes down to actually telling yourself, like we talked about, that mental affirmation type stuff. What cardio will do is cardio will allow your internal system to properly function at the rate that it should be if you are to lose the weight. So what I mean by that is that if you're, for example, obese, and you don't do any kind of cardio, your insides are struggling because your heart has to pump out blood to every corner of your body, and in order to do that, it has to pump at a certain rate. That's why you see people having high blood pressure when they're obese, because your heart has to pump at a different rate than normal. And so what training cardio does is it strengthens your heart, because your heart is now pumping, it gets used to pumping blood in the manner of physical exertion, which is what cardio does. So if you're running or incline walking, whatever form of cardio biking is a great one. Whatever form of cardio you're doing, that is just strengthening your inside system to further pump the blood. So if you strengthen that, your cardio, your internal side of things, then when you change your diet and you start eating clean and you start prioritizing proteins over, the fats or even carbs, your body will be able to pump it properly to where it needs to go. And then you add the weight training on top of that, which turns the fatty tissue on your body into either muscle or completely deteriorates the fatty muscles. That's how you lose the weight. So if you're a young person sitting here listening to the podcast and you're thinking to yourself, I want to lose weight, cardio is part of the process, but you cannot only do cardio and think you are going to be losing that weight. Not
Mm-hmm.
even at a young age where, I mean, for me, when I was I had home cooked meals from my mom up until I was in college, and I did not really get a say in that. I was not able to go, all right, I'm going to cook for myself this day. Like, this is what I had set for me. So having a mature conversation with your parents and be like, hey, I understand it might be easier for you to take me out to Burger King because it's just easier for you to get that food that way. But if we can focus on getting some clean options in here, that is how I need to develop my body. Because if I keep getting fed all these, you know, extremely fatty greaseball meals, which is what, I mean, any fast food is, you learn how to read a nutrition label and then go have a
Yeah.
nightmare reading a fast food nutrition label. Um, being able to adapt to those clean options while utilizing cardio to distribute the proper proteins and carbs that you are eating, that's how you start to lose weight. And then understanding the science of a calorie deficit compared to a calorie surplus, depending on what your
Mm-hmm.
goal is. That's why we talked about at the very beginning of this episode, learning everything there is to know about the body. That is how you lose weight. Because once you start to understand, how much water you should be intaking per your weight and height combination, as well as your calorie deficit in order to achieve X amount of pounds lost per month. That's how you have to do math behind it. There's no, cookie cutter template that can be applied. You have to do math. You have to understand your given situation and stop blaming it on just cardio. So that's just a quick little rant, but I get that every single day. And I'm not even kidding you. Every single day when when a student body finds out that I'm big into the gym and the weightlifting and bodybuilding and all that, and they go, "How I want to lose weight? How much cardio should I do?" I have to have this conversation every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So stop thinking that cardio is your end all be all for losing weight, because it isn't. But it is an aspect of it that you need to have incorporated. So you're not doing anything wrong by doing cardio. You're doing something wrong by thinking that cardio is your only aspect to weight loss.
Yeah, it's a tool. That's really all it comes down to, is a
Exactly.
tool. And
When
almost,
you're digging a hole, you need a shovel. You can do it with your hands, but it's not going to be the best way to dig the hole.
yeah, and ultimately, you talk to any bodybuilder who knows what the hell they're talking about. The only time they really use cardio for weight loss is like right prior to a show, and that's just because they're already exerting themselves as much as they can with weightlifting and eating as little as they can. So to really lose that extra bit of weight, they increase their cardio, and that's just it's obviously that's a whole nother conversation. The conversation we had about the seminar kind of went into that. How if you're already pushing yourself too hard into a prep, then it's probably not going to be worth it. You need to start like pretty on the light side. But all right, that's a whole nother conversation. But cardio should be used for overall health, cardiovascular system improvements, overall longevity, mobility within your joints, stuff like that. That's why I almost always recommend against running in general. Running is very difficult on your joints. It's going to hurt your knees over time, your ankles as well, your hips. I'll always recommend incline walking and Stairmaster, elliptical, stuff like that for cardio. And that's just for general health. Weightlifting, you're going to burn most calories. That's why
Yeah.
if your only goal is to lose fat and lose weight, cardio is not the way to go. The way to go is weightlifting. And that's what a lot of women have a problem with, is that they want to do cardio because, they don't want to do weightlifting because it's going to, put on muscle mass. They're going to look masculine, whatever the reason is. But the reality is that you're going to burn way more calories weightlifting than you are ever going to burn in cardio. An hour of weightlifting is for, like, realistically, like, let's say you did a pretty fast Stairmaster with no hands, like you're not touching anything. An hour of Stairmaster is probably legit like a half hour of lifting. It's completely different cardio, or completely different caloric intake burning, or caloric burning. So weightlifting is really going to be your number one tool when it comes to losing weight, if you wanted to lose weight. But at the same time, you really don't have to change anything when you're going from losing weight to gaining muscle. The really biggest difference is just overall caloric intake. knowing your maintenance is a big important thing to have. That's part of what my coach does, is he knows my maintenance and he adapts my food accordingly. So when you're starting out, it's good to understand, okay, this is my weight. If this amount of calories is what's going to be ideal for my maintenance, then, if I take in 200 less calories a day, I have the potential to lose half a pound of weight a week with this training, regimen, stuff like that. That's what consistency is going to teach you. That's why consistency is key, is because you're going to really fully understand how your body works. And, talk about these studies, like thinking about these studies that we talk about, all of these studies have to be extremely consistent to even see if there's any results from it. So like these people, so like for instance, right, there's this guy on YouTube I've been seeing in my shorts. He eats carnivore because he had a lot of issues with different foods he was digesting. And he's so consistent with his food that adding one thing in will change the way his body feels completely. So what he will do is, like, he has the same thing every single day. So like what he did was, he's like, okay, let's see how avocado does. So he has some avocado and he's like, I feel great. I feel I have more energy now. It tastes amazing. But then he adds in like duck fat and he's like, my body did not fucking agree with that at all. I feel like garbage. So it's like, the more consistent you are, the more dialed in you can get with the way your body responds to things. So that's going to be your key thing when starting out, is finding, especially with training, finding what works for you ergonomically and agrees with you, and then sticking to that for a long time. And then finding, like, tweaking different amounts of food you take in, and then being like, okay, so now I'm gaining weight while also training. That's good. And then if you like decrease the food and you're like, okay, I'm not really gaining any weight the past few weeks, so this must be my maintenance right now. And then going forward, your maintenance is going to change depending on how much cardio you do and then how much your weight is. So like when you gain weight, your maintenance is going to go up because you're going to be pushing around more weight. So consistency is going to be key no matter what you're doing, no matter what age you're going to be at. So just getting in the gym, the biggest thing right now with being 12, 13, 14, tweens, teenagers, the biggest thing is going to be just getting in the gym and just eating food so that you have enough energy to get through your day. That's going to be your biggest thing. Don't go cold turkey or anything. Just don't really change necessarily how much or what you eat. Just if you're feeling tired, just eat more. That's going to be your energy. And then just going to the gym and getting the routine in there. Go there for a few months and find out what works for you and keep going with it. That's going to be your biggest thing right now. And then from there, once you're in the gym for a little while, you're going to start making progress. Then you can start being like, okay, I want to eat more. I want to eat less. I think that because I'm kind of on the chunky side, I want to lose some fat. That's when you start really adapting it. But the first few months is really just going to be finding a routine, that works for you and going from there. So that's the biggest thing I want everybody listening who is on the younger side. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away from this, is just get in the gym, build that routine, and get your foundation in there, no matter what gym you're going to. And then down the road, like let's say right now it's April 2nd. So if you go in the 3rd.
It is not April 2nd, bud. Oh, it is April 2nd? Wow.
Yes.
Look at that. I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, it's April 2nd, Sunday, April 2nd. So if you start going to the gym the 3rd, then maybe like July, be like, okay, I'm going to start tweaking my food a little bit. I'm in the gym for a few months. Let me see what happens if I add more food into my diet. And then you're like, holy shit, I'm way stronger now. I have way more energy, blah, blah, blah. That's how you understand your body. That's how you understand your consistency. Stoff and I have coaches that kind of help us with that. But at your age, don't even worry about any of that shit. Just have fun with it. Enjoy it with your friends and just learn how to lift, really. Just learn how to lift and have fun. Learn the human body and have fun, because I wish I could learn everything all over again. It's so much fun.
I actually had a interesting moment with the diet consistency that you had mentioned earlier. How I've been eating super disciplined, clean foods for, upwards of 3 months now, ever since I picked up the coach. And, I deviate from it from time to time, but for the most part, I'm very consistent with it. And prior to taking on a coach, Domino's was my all-time favorite. I would eat, 2 pizzas from there on a cheat meal, and just enjoy that. And I can recall, for as long as I've been an adult, Domino's has been my favorite. If I'm going out, I'm going to go get food for that. And
Hmm.
I did it this past week. I got Domino's, and I had to text my coach the following morning because I was like, I feel like shit.
Did
Like
he know
that,
you're getting it?
well, afterwards he did, and he was like, "Yes, I expected this from you. Like, at this point, your body has become so attuned to eating the clean foods that you've been eating consistently that in order to do a cheat meal, it has to be either a home cooked cheat meal or
Hmm.
something rice based. Like, if you go to like, for me, I'd go to like Moe's or Chipotle
I
or
got
something
something to
like
add
that.
to that. Yep.
Like, and my body no longer accepts dirty food. Like, if I
Right.
went to Wendy's, I would die. And I
Hmm.
remember eating Wendy's, like that was part of my cheat days back before I had a coach. I'd do like 6 pancakes in the morning, Wendy's for lunch, Domino's for dinner, and I'd do the dirtiest Saturday of all time.
Hmm.
But now if I even sniff fast food, I get close to yakking. Like, it's my body completely rejects it. The only thing I can get away with is Subway's, because Subway's has a lot of you know meat clean options. So like I'd get like a chicken bacon ranch, stuff like that. Um but that is the only like place I can even get this kind of outside
Yeah.
food from. Other than that, it's like, what can I cook? Because when I'm cooking, it's clean. Like I'm handling
Mhm.
all the meat myself. I'm handling all the carbs myself. Like all of that is myself. I can wash the food. I can clean it. I can make sure it's good. And that's basically the only cheap meals I can get away with now.
Yeah. Something to add to that. I got a couple things to add actually. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with Louis C.K., who's my favorite comedian of all time. Louis C.K. is so funny. They were talking about this because Louis goes through phases where he gets dialed in with his food and he starts working out again and he starts getting healthier, but then he just falls off it completely. And one of the things that they both agreed on is that um, experiencing like uncomfortability from overeating a meal or having something bad kind of sets you up to be more dialed in for the future. And what they mean is like you feel like shit after that meal. You're going to be like, wow, I really took it for granted how good I felt on the food that I was eating before. And it's like being sick. It's like you don't realize that being healthy is amazing until you're sick and you're like, fuck, I can't wait to be healthy again. And
Yep.
that's how it is with food. It's like when you have a big cheat meal, you look forward to it, but then afterwards you're like, fuck, why did I do that? And it's
Hmm.
like, it's great in the moment, but then you're like, okay, time to get dialed back in. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things with refeeds or cheat meals is obviously the spike in calories, but also you get to enjoy, you get to appreciate how you feel normally because like having a bite of a donut, I'll fucking be bloated as shit. And it's just because I'm not used to it. It's my body's not used to that level of sugar or anything like that. Those really dense carbs. So it's like just having that makes you appreciate like feeling good throughout the day. You know what I mean? And obviously anabolics is a whole nother ballgame. It's like, wow, I really took it for granted taking what I was taking before because I felt fucking amazing. And it's like, and the next time I'm on shit, I'm going to really enjoy it. But then when I'm on it, I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm not making enough progress. I feel like shit. Like, I feel like I look like it's just this whole back and forth, but it's something to appreciate. Like you enjoy the Dominoes when you're eating it. Like that probably tasted amazing. But then afterwards you're like, fuck, I feel terrible.
Actually, my body started rejecting it when I was in the middle of the second pizza. Like it was like
Second
that
pizza or
instantaneous.
piece?
Well, pizza. I ate two pizzas. Like when I do my
Do you
how
get
I
two
used.
small?
No, I get two medium, three toppings.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm a horse dude.
Yeah, that's a lot of food. That's a lot of
But
calories.
I started to reject it in the middle of the second one, which
I'm not
the
surprised.
well, I normally handled it like I never
Yeah.
had problems digestion with it, but it was like instantaneous. And
Mhm.
I texted him the moment of, and he was like, "Yep, now you can't eat that anymore." I was like, "Great,
Yeah, yeah, that's funny because two pieces is a lot. If you had one, you probably would have been way better off. But
probably."
um, it's hard to take into like moderation is hard when you're eating junk food. It's hard.
Hmm.
You want more and more. But so this weekend I asked my coach. I said, "Hey, I know it's not part of the program. Can I get a refeed soon?" It's the first time I've ever asked him for it because it's been months since I've had a refeed, and like a proper refeed or like, like sushi or burger or whatever it is. I actually asked for it. I said, hey, look, it's been a while. I know it's not part of the plan. It's only been part of the plan once, where I had a refeed once a week. It was for a month. 4 refeeds total was the longest we ever had as part of the plan. And I said, I know it hasn't been part of the plan for a while. Can I get a refeed soon? I just want to go get some sushi with my wife or something. And he said, yes, that's fine. He said, once we're 3 to 4 months out from the show, there's going to be no more refeeds. And I'm like in my mind, I'm like, fuck, we're really close now. We're really close to getting ready for the show,
Yep.
because he's like starting to warn me. So he's like, what he said for this refeed is he said, make this one count. And I was like, fuck. All right. So Tuesday, we're going to go get some sushi, at Mr. Tokyo, which we went to. So we're going to go there.
I love
Tuesday.
that place.
Yeah. So I'm going to go hit arms on Tuesday, hit a quick arm day, and then go to get sushi with her, after that. But, yeah, so it's exciting. I'm excited because I'm ready to like start a prep, and I'm ready to like really push myself, because I need to lose this baby fat. Once I lose this baby fat around my belly, my hips, I think I'll be set up for the future to have pretty consistent abs and shit, but just need to really push my body to lose it. Which we're going to have to include, drugs and shit like that, which I'll talk about when we get to that point. But, yeah, so that's my newest addition. I'm on a carb cycle plan now. It's high carb, low carb. So 3 days low carb, including my rest day. So like today's my rest day, so it's a low carb day. But so it's like Saturday, Sunday, Monday is low carb, then Tuesday is high carb. So that's why I'm getting my refeed on Tuesday. And then it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday low carb, Saturday high carb for my next chest day. So that's my current plan. So the way it's looking, I don't think we haven't planned a show yet. I got to ask him if we're planning for one, but he said it's going to happen sometime this summer, and we're just about coming up on probably 3 to 4 months out, depending on the show. But I'm fucking ready to get peeled, man. I can't tell you how ready I am to get peeled. I mean, I'm going to miss the food that I'm eating, but at the same time, it's like I'm really ready to get diced. I've never been diced before, and I'm really ready to push myself with that, especially with my new job starting next week. I'm ready to get dialed in and get consistent with everything. But yeah, so refeeds. Yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to sushi on Tuesday, but I'm definitely going to be hating myself afterwards, even though it's pretty clean. Sushi's pretty clean, depending on the source, but the source I get it from is pretty clean. I'm definitely going to be unhappy with myself. But like you were saying, like a clean refeed or clean cheat meal is important. Like your coach said, it's like fucking half the refeeds I get are just more rice for my work after my workout. Like that's my refeed, is more rice. It's like, it's ridiculous. So, but I think especially if you're like in the off season, you're young or whatever it is, I think like a weekly cheat meal is important, to keep you consistent. Not a whole bad weekend, but like a cheat meal or like a dessert or something like that to keep you dialed in. Because when you don't have a refeed for a very long time, it's hard to stay consistent, because you haven't been able to enjoy food for a while. So there's times where I've gotten like borderline depressed because I haven't enjoyed food for like 3 months at a time. You know what I mean? So
Coach said I get to have mustard. Let's go.
yeah, for real. Like that's how it's been in the past. When I'm doing prep, like that's legit what it's going to be like. It's going to be like mustard and hot sauce is all that I'm allowed. Granted, what I do with my rice now is I make this like beef rice. So I take my jasmine rice, put beef consume or whatever it's called in it, with an onion packet and some beef broth. It's like almost no added calories when I'm cooking all this rice, but it changes the flavor completely. So now I can actually like really enjoy anytime I have rice, because it tastes phenomenal. It's something different. It's not just plain white rice. So that's awesome. But I'm
I
also
used to
drinking.
do I used to do a really good combo to make Spanish rice, where you cook it with chicken broth and a teaspoon of turmeric, or
Mhm.
turmeric, however you pronounce it, um, and then just cooking with some diced up peppers, and you make just a
Yeah.
really baller Spanish rice blend.
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, I like anything that I can do with white rice that's low calorie. I'll probably start doing it, especially when it comes to prep, like just to change it up. Because I mean, chances are I'm not really going to have much white rice when we do start prep. And the thing with prep is like, um, is that it's not going to be like a night and day difference. It's going to be like it's not going to be like, okay, we're at 4,000 calories now we're at 2,000 when we start prep. It's like you're at 4,000, now we're at like 3,700. It's like just
Yeah.
going to be like a little bit less. It's going to be just enough. Like you just slowly start working your way down. That's what prep's going to be about. But when it comes to carbs, I'm very, very carb sensitive. So it's going to be tough because he's going to take out like all my fucking carbs. Like probably within a month out, we're probably going to be like keto again, basically. And then we might have like a tiny, tiny refeed like a week out from the show to spike my caloric intake again, like with maybe like 3 ounces of rice or some shit. And then got to get dialed in with the water cut. But I've wanted to compete for the longest time because I've been doing this for so long and I don't even necessarily know if I'm going to like competing. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't. I love posing. I love training. I love eating, but it is a different ballgame when you're actually stepping on stage. So, it'll be
That's where
interesting.
you need to have that charisma built up from a young age. Segue of the century. Whew.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so when you're young, just enjoy it. Eat what you can. Eat clean. Chicken, broccoli, rice. Eat
Mm-hmm.
plenty of eggs. Don't listen to what the FDA says because most likely they're wrong, which is stupid, but it's true. And just eat clean food. Learn like Steph was saying, learn how to read a nutrition label. Like that's gonna be very, very important. Learning how to read that. They're really not that hard to read. You just need to understand what the ingredient, like what each thing does in your body. And then once you learn that, you can learn how to read a nutrition label. So make sure you're reading nutrition labels. And another thing to consider too, when you're getting food from the store, your parents are buying it for you, whatever it is, make sure that whatever they get doesn't have a shit ton of ingredients in it. There's some foods that are like, in quotations healthy for you, but they'll have like 3 million ingredients in it to make it healthy for you. It's like especially like keto stuff that's like no carb, like low carb this or no carb that, like no carb ice cream and shit like that. Granted it has no carbs in it, but it's going to have a million ingredients in it, which is still not good for you. So just eat like simple ingredients, simple foods that taste good and you can enjoy.
No carbs, but here's a dollop of uranium. Enjoy your radiation, fuckers.
Yeah, 1 million calories per gram, or whatever the hell it is. I forget what the caloric intake of uranium is. I forget. There's some sort of thing. I saw this BuzzFeed article where they're like, weightlifters are now starting to eat dog food because of the protein concentrate. And top comment goes, no, the fuck we aren't. It's like, no, we're not. We are not doing that. Like, who's saying this? Like,
Yeah.
no one is doing that. It's a joke. There's a joke that like your neighbor's dog is really annoying. But then you find out they're like 3,000 calories of protein or something. It's like some joke, like shit like that. It's like, it's a joke. It's not real. Like, I mean, people might be biting into dog food because it does have high protein content, but it's like no one's fucking eating it on a regular basis. Like you're
Yeah.
joking. And then people are like, no wonder why like all these gym guys are so toxic, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, like you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. No one's doing that shit.
And that's that whole outsider looking in part, because in
Yeah.
reality we might be one of the most supportive communities around. Like there's
Yeah.
no there's literally no political divide inside of the gym, because
Mhm.
politics could have nothing to do with how you lift a weight. You get in whatever you put, or you get out whatever you put in. And it's as basic as that, and because of that we're just a really united community.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most positive community I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
I've been a part of some toxic ass communities, like skateboarding and motorcycles can be kind of toxic.
Well, we're part of the biggest toxic group, and that's gaming.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it can be toxic. Just depends on who you surround yourself with. But like skateboarding was the worst. Just so fucking toxic. So to go from that to this, it's like a breath of fresh air. And it's the most positive people, the smartest people ever are gonna be in the gym. And it does take some sort of intellect to understand how the human body works. Anybody can learn it, but to have the tenacity to learn it is going to take some time. So you're going to be surrounding yourself with some good ass people and people who are smart know the positives of exercise. So it's also a good opportunity for networking as well, just like golf is. Golf is a great opportunity for networking. The gym is a great opportunity for networking as well. So something to keep in mind as well. Granted, if you're in middle school, high school, doesn't really matter too much, but you can make some good friends. You have like
Hmm.
some really, really good people are in the gym. Some of the nicest people I've ever met are in the gym. So you never know who you're going to meet. So just go into it with an open mind and have fun with it. learn how to lift, learn how to properly train, learn how to, have proper form. Use it to improve your sports performance, use it to have better endurance, better stamina. And you're going to set yourself for the future. And there's no too soon to start. There's no too soon to start really at the end of the day. Sometimes it's, you're not getting as much out of it. Like that 7-year-old wasn't getting as much out of it as a 14-year-old would, but it's not going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt them to do it. So the sooner you start, the better. So just get in there and have fun, guys.
Yeah. And just really thing is just to have fun. You're at an age where you shouldn't be taking it all that seriously. Like, obviously do it to improve yourself, but have fun with it. Enjoyment is the greatest thing you can take out of the gym at this point in your life. So just keep doing what you guys do. Take what we said and implement it. See what you think. Reach out to us and let us know. But outside of that, guys, we will be seeing you guys next week with brand new content for you.
We'll see you guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
See ya.